Hey everyone, it's Miranda here with OneSixthAvneue. Today we are going to work on the dollhouse windows again that I had worked on a couple weeks ago. And I'm going to start working on the inside of the working mechanism of the window. So that's what we're going to do, and I think I'll be able to wrap it up in one more video after this one. So that one will be probably next month. So stay tuned for that. And before you get started, just remember to like this video, leave a comment below, and subscribe and share the video, because, you know, all those things really help me out with YouTube to get my channel going. And with all that, let's jump in and get started. Alright, so before we get started on the construction for the new windows, I just want to go over what I think I'm going to work on in this video. It could change, but this is the plans that I have to start. So I want to work on the top frame up here, this section here, which is the fixed part of the window that does not move, and then we have the lower part. So I'm going to build this out here and put it in on the windows, and then also frame out this outer part all here along the outside of the window. And then on the final video, I will come to the inside of the windows, and we'll work on framing out the inside trim and build the moving mechanism. So I think that will be the best way to go about it. So that's what we're going to do today. So let's move over to the work table and get going. All right, I took a few measurements since the window I'm working on is slightly larger than the other one that is built. I determined my sizing here, so I'm only worried about the length right now because I need the moving piece to overlap slightly on the fixed piece. So I'm going to build this one at 3 3/4 length, and then I will cut the measurement to whatever width it needs to be on the length, and that's what I will do with that. And then today I'll be working with a piece of plastic from doll packaging for the window glass, and then the two sizes of wood I will be using is this 1/8 by 1/4 basswood strips. This is for the outer part, and then for the actual window, gluing this to the window pane, it will be a 1/16 by 1/4 bass strip pieces. I get these at Hobby Lobby in these packs. I don't know if the prices are different. They could probably more now, because these were purchased I think a couple years ago. Let's get a window and get started. So first up, I'm going to measure out the top piece that is going to be glued onto the plastic window. I got to make 2 of these for each window, and I'm going to measure each individually and cut. So I will do that for each window each time. So let's go. Because this is the 1/16 by 1/4 wood, I'm not going to use my little handsaw to, I'm going to use my handsaw to cut this, not the electric, because it's so thin I don't want to damage and shred the wood. And when you're cutting, always make sure to cut on the outside of your measurement, because you can always sand off any excess, because you can't add it back. So I rather cut it a little longer and then sand it down so it fits nice and snug. So you can see I cut it just slightly longer by like a 1/16 or a 1/32 of an inch. And I would do that on the other side, making sure to cut to the outside of my line. I'm gonna set these aside. This is for this side, and now I'm gonna do some for this side. Now the way I plan to build this is I'm going to build out one side where this is going to be glued in flush, and then I can glue this and paint it, and then the separate piece will be painted separately, and this one will go down here like this, and then I will sandwich in two more on this side, and then these extra pieces will be going on the other side, if that makes sense. I am not too worried about these not being perfectly glued in, like the stability of them right now, because I will be adding the other trim along here, and that will strengthen it and also give it a more decorative look. So that's the purpose of that. So next I'm going to just measure these and glue them here on the side, which will also help strengthen it as well. So that is next. Okay, after I make sure everything's level and flush, I am going to let this dry, and I'm going to repeat this whole process again on the second window, and then we will start on the outside trim. I completed the other set of windows and added the frames up to the top. So next I'm going to add these pieces that come down to hold in the moving piece, and those are going to be done with the 1/8 by 1/4 inch piece of basswood. So I'm going to do that next. I'm going to do it on all 4 sections. And I'm going to cut these as well with the handsaw. I just got in these little, I guess like inside rails installed on this one. This is what it looks from the other side right now. So got some glue there sticking out. I will sand all this before I paint it. So the next step here will be, once these dry, I will frame out the outside of the windows and then they'll get painted. Got these pieces going and I'm gonna let these dry, and now I'm gonna switch back to the other window and I'm gonna start working on the outside frame. So now I'm gonna start working on the outside frame here, and I'm gonna use the same pieces that I've been using, which is the 1/8 by 1/4 inch basswood. I think I'm going to start with the base. I'm trying to remember how I did this 5 years ago when I built the other windows, and I think to get a better cut, I'm going to start at the bottom instead of the top. I think that's the best way to do it. Okay, yeah, I'm going to start with the bottom. After looking at the other windows and paying attention to the way they are built, I'm going to go this route because I want to make sure I get nice, neat cuts as much as I can. Now to glue this one down, I am going to use, I think, some of these. Let's see if they, possibly. I'm going to use the bigger ones. Okay, so I'm gluing that flush with the windowsill and flush with the edges of the window frame. There we go. Let that dry and then measure out the next one on the other window. Before I glue on the decorative strips on top here, I'm going to do some sanding and just to smooth it out a little. Okay, that feels pretty good. So let's start framing out the rest of this. So I'm going to start at the top and then we'll sandwich in the vertical pieces afterwards. I'm gonna let that sit and dry for a minute, take a break, and then I will get started on the vertical frames. Alright, I'm gonna let that one dry a little so I can take the clamps off, and then I'll do the other side. This one is done. I just need to repeat the process of the framing on the other window, and then I can get to painting. I've got my workspace a little dusted off, and I sanded down each window set so it's pretty smooth. I usually do a little bit of sanding in between coats of paint as well, so that's all ready. I'm just using regular matte craft paint for this, nothing fancy. So that's what I'm going to use, and I'm just going to start on the front and then work my way to the back. I think this is where I'm gonna stop because I'm thinking about staining the inside part here, doing it a brown stain, because the trim in that room is a brown stain. It's not white trim like some parts of the house. So I think I'm gonna leave it for now and think about it, and you guys can let me know what you think I should do. If I should just paint the whole window white and just do the brown, the stained wood trim on the baseboard, because the baseboard and the crown molding will be that. So I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm gonna let it dry, and then I'll sand and do another coat. Once I get done painting the other window, we will come back and finish up these parts here. So I put 2 coats on the windows. I sanded in between. I think that's good enough for now. I can always come back and do a little bit more afterwards. I just wanted to make sure I got this part pretty well, which I think it looks good. And then on the inside, I painted along the inside lip here, and I think this area here I'm going to stain, I think. But I'm not going to paint it either because I still have to do the trim here. So I'm not going to do that right now. The next thing is to cut some pieces of plastic and glue them into place here on this top square part. So that is the next thing I'm going to do. And then I will cut pieces to sandwich in the plastic afterwards. So that's what we're going to do next. Now, I don't worry about the plastic being a precise fit because I will be covering it. I just want it to slide in there so I can glue it down. There we go. Fits perfect. And I'll just glue it down. Let me cut the other one, and then we'll glue. 2 pieces of plastic cut to size. Now we're gonna glue them. I'm gonna use this adhesive from the dollar store. I am all out of E6000, so I've got to put that on the list for tomorrow. So I'm gonna give this a shot and see how it works. I'm gonna let this dry and see if it works out. If it works, I will glue the other window. I got the plastic in place on both sets of windows. Now I'm going to cut down more strips of these 1/16 by 1/8 basswood to fit into these slots here. But before I glue them in place, I will paint them because it will be too hard to paint them afterwards, and I'll paint them front and back and then glue them down with the same clear glue. So that's what we're gonna do. I've got the top and bottom rails in. I'm going to paint them and then let them dry and then glue them in, and then I would do the other sides. So paint is next. No, I'm gonna do the other window and then I'm gonna paint them all at once. That'll be a better way to do it. I got all the pieces painted and sanded and everything, so they're ready to be glued in place. So one there. I'm just gonna put them where they belong, and then I get the glue and glue them down where they need to go. When it comes to putting these in, I like to keep them organized so I know which one goes where. That way I just have a nice, good fit. So, I'm just gonna use the same glue. This one here, which is kind of like E6000, pretty much. I'm just gonna put a little bit on and glue that down. Gonna let them dry, and once they're been drying for about 15 minutes, I'll come in, measure out these side ones here, and repeat the process all over again to finish up the window on the top. Alright, well that wraps up the video for today. I finished working on the last pieces here, so all the vertical parts are now installed. So the upper panel on the windows are good to go. They just got to dry a little bit more. I did it for both windows. I just need to clean them up a little, but I'm not too worried about all the scuffiness of the windows. I could use, you know, like a plexiglass to put them, but it's just more cost, and so I have plenty of plastic packaging on hand. Next time I want to frame out the inside of the window with the other pieces just like I did with the outside, and then build the sliding mechanism, which is just basically going to be this, but it won't be glued in place, and there will be a piece of wood going up here that will let it slide up and down. So, and I think what I plan to do is, there's like glue strings on here, I will stain this section here and stain the windowsill, but the sliding panel will be painted white. So that's what I think I plan to do, because the rest of the room has dark stained trim for the baseboards and the crown molding. So once that is done and the windows are complete, these walls will be ready to be installed on the dollhouse, and then I can start working on other stuff in that room to finally complete that room. Almost. I think that room is pretty near completion compared to other places in the dollhouse. So yeah, I think that's it for today. So we'll see you next time in a couple weeks. That is my plan to post again. So see you next time. Bye.